This is so exciting. We're so thrilled to be here, and I find it amazing. The job that you've done is amazing, and I would like to start with you. Really, no, you guys are so great. I'd like to start by asking you, this is not the first swing at Harry Potter that you have taken. You actually auditioned to be the young Voldemort.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up the painful elephant in the room.
How hard was it to not get that? And how exciting was it to get this after that?
Honestly, so I was at university at the time, and they were starting to make those films, and they were doing a full-on search of the world for the young. It was for Tom Riddle, and so if it was an audition in which I'd had many auditions and got close, but it was an audition. They came to the university. I walked in the room. I think I said 3 lines and was asked to leave. So it wasn't like I had much of a chance. But no. And now I look back, and Jude's the same actually. Jude and I were commiserating each other the other day about how basically every British actor in the world ever was in Harry Potter at some point. We never got the invite, but now we feel like we lucked out by playing the long game.
Yeah. In this latest episode of this fantastic piece, you've recreated the character of Newt, but you have a brother this time, Theseus. And Callum in real life only has a half brother, where you have older and younger brother.
Yeah.
How did you create that dynamic of being brothers?
Well, weirdly, my older brother James is kind of a bit like Theseus in that he is. James won't find that a compliment, but he's a sort of incredibly talented, schoolboy hero, formidable at sport. He's a wonderful, very successful human being. And he came to the set, and there was a moment where I just sort of looked around the corner and I found Callum and him having sort of quite deep and meaningful conversations. I was like, whoa, wait a second, step away from the vehicle. But the amazing thing about Callum and I, weirdly, is we grew up about 100 meters from each other. So it's so sort of, it's surreal that we come from the same part of London.
We did hear that he did kiss you on the forehead, though.
In the audition. You know, it got him the part. I was like, I like your work. Except what almost didn't get him the part was the fact that he did this brilliant thing called War and Peace, that book you may have heard of, but he did an adaptation of it, which was...
It's really well written.
And they did an adaptation of it recently, which Callum was in. He came on screen, and I was sitting with my wife, Hannah, and both of us went, and Hannah went, oh my God, that guy looks like you, but he's just taller and darker and maybe more handsome. And I was like, so when Callum was auditioning for this, or David Yates said, I've got this lovely actor who's coming in to audition with you to test. And he literally walked through the door, and I was like, of course it's him.
So you guys obviously did a ton of green screen shooting, which I can't imagine, or not?
Maybe not as much as you think.
Okay, well, I was going to say, at least with the Fantastic Beasts, that's definitely a huge part of it. But when you're going back, obviously you're watching it, it's I'm sure, kind of crazy to see what the digital people are doing behind the scenes. But to actually be acting that out, what was the craziest or most difficult scene for both of you to shoot?
I'm trying to think of where we didn't have the support that we normally get. Actually, most of it is practical. And when we're dealing with the creatures, they're usually, being performed, the parts being performed by 1 to 3 amazing puppeteers.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. So we're not staring at a spot on the wall and trying to imagine that it's a really cool creature. We're just looking at 3 dudes acting like a really cool creature. But it really helps. Yeah. But I was wondering for you, Eddie.
This is how Catherine calls me on set. I'll be walking on the set here, Eddie!
Yeah, it's that film, Hail Caesar, the Coen Brothers film, and Tilda Swinton's character is always chasing after George. No, it's not George Clooney's character.
No, it's Josh.
It's Josh Brolin's character, and his name's Eddie, and she's always like, Eddie. And so I cannot call him Eddie without doing that voice. But when you were chasing the baby Nifflers, I imagine they weren't really there, so that probably was really hard.
That was actually a thing. That was such fun, that scene. But basically, what are you guys called? Hacky sacks? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know how
we call them hacky sacks.
But there's this thing on YouTube, and I went down a whole YouTube hole of extraordinary talented people who like play hacky sack games of keeping it up in the air and like catching it on weird parts of their body, and it becomes like this weird dance. And I had that idea that catching the baby nifflers should be like that, which is one of those lovely kind of whimsical ideas you have, but then the reality of it is kind of so to begin with I was like, maybe I could just have little green hacky sacks, and I spent about 4 days just seeing if I could catch one like in my pocket, and it was like, this isn't going to work. So I ended up having to mime it, and it was quite funny to watch if you were there because there was nothing in the air and I just looked like I was doing some bonkers dance.
I'd actually love to see footage of that without the CGI in there, like just like he's taken the wrong.
It would have been humiliating, but not quite as humiliating as the erumpent dance from the last movie.
See, that's what's cool about the erumpent dance. It's like there's nowhere to go but less humiliating from there. But I like that you set the bar high, and now you can try to aim to humiliate yourself more with every single film.
I feel like Joe does it though. Like, and
she's like, what's he gonna do?
What's going to be new humiliating bit now?
You're like, thank you.
Which is interesting because now I'm wondering why you're in an ankle brace.
Oh.
Or is that a sad story?
No.
Should I not have brought that up?
I wish it was a flippin' good story. So I've just finished a film
There
called
was a woman stuck on the tracks of a train, and it was coming to her. And Eddie, but then his foot got stuck, and but she lived.
Okay,
and,
great. All right, nice.
That's the
Better
frickin'
story then. Yeah.
Well, you know how Tom Cruise did that thing where he like jumped over, did his own stunts. Yeah. So
Yes.
I was doing film and I was trying to take from him. I was like, I'm going to do all my stunts. It was a film about 2 people in an air balloon. It was like the air balloon collapses. The whole thing is a disaster. And so I was doing all my own stunts.
Wow.
And one day I walked. Thanks.
Until this happened.
I walked on a crash mat. So like the crash mat thing that's there to save you from
like
like
at a
hurting
gym,
yourself,
like a little
in
mat,
gym,
Like
crash mat.
gymnastics mat?
2-inch mat.
Yeah, the thing, and I walked on the crash mat and I tripped. And I ruptured my tendons and I had to be wheeled off set. But hilariously,
Nice.
at that point, my character had frostbite and like blood all over his face. So I had all this makeup, prosthetics and all this stuff. And they took me into ER and they were like, what the fuck? Doctors coming out going, emergency. And I was like, no, I've just got a sore foot.
Of weak ankles that rolled.
Was that here in the States?
Actually, it wasn't. I don't know why. I just did a really shoddy American accent. It was, I'll tell you why, because to explain the story, we call it A&E, but you guys call it ER. So I had got into like the American...
Gotcha. So, you guys are fantastic. Just thought I'd
We
throw
love
that
you. Thank
fantastic in there again. Out of all of the fantastic beasts that you have, and this is a question for both of you guys, which beast would you say is most like you in real life?
That's a much more interesting question
Than
than
the one we normally get.
normally ask, which is our favorite.
Which is your favorite?
Which is most like... I think I'm probably Pickett. A bit
Yeah.
needy. It's like likes a
Very
hug.
reliable.
Very reliable. What are you?
What are you?
What are you? Exactly.
I don't know, man.
Wow.
I mean, I wish I was like the Thunderbird.
Yeah, noble.
Yeah, noble.
Elegant.
Yeah,
Who's the Chinese?
spewing.
Who's the
What?
Chinese dragon? Interesting. Do you know what? Genuinely, well,
Dan?
Dan, yeah. Because Dan can be like incredibly strong and powerful, and then
Yeah.
he can be, like suddenly turn into a complete softie
Yeah,
with like
yeah.
those, That
Yeah.
is probably Dan. That's a good point.
You still thinking about it?
I mean, no. I've stopped thinking about it. Totally given up.
Come to you at 2 a.m.
The moon calf. I do like that moon calf.
I love the moon calves, but that wasn't the
Yeah.
question. You can't move it to the
No,
ones
it's
you
not.
like.
Who do you like?
And the moon calf gets eye drops and just like stares at the moon.
But you know what? I feel you should be really proud of yourself because we get asked a lot of the same questions, and you really stumped me.
And it's basically it's shown the reason why journalists should ask the same questions. So you ask an interesting question, we have no answer.
These idiots can't handle it.
Wow.
I am feeling a lot of pressure right now for the next question.
So what's your favorite?
No, I'm just kidding. So the Harry Potter universe, obviously, it's iconic. Everybody loves it. And with these characters that you guys play, I mean, they're already iconic characters. But do you feel like as actors, you have any sort of like creative freedom with them, even though they're already part of this like already established universe?
I mean, the amazing.
I think the hacky sack story answers that question.
That's true. That's true.
No, but the amazing thing about J.K. Rowling is that people that are so extraordinarily talented and sort of content in their own skin and their own imagination brilliance is she writes these scripts, they're detailed, they're formidable, but she then hands it over to you and goes like, yeah, go play with it. So the kind of like some of the tracking scenes, some of the like all of those things you just get to invent and come up with ideas and she's always watching the rushes, so if anything goes wrong, although we've never
like it.
Yeah,
we
no,
probably hear about
there was
it.
only one moment in this film which I remember, which was that Jude, so Dumbledore's wand to begin with, was a particular wand. And then Joe saw it in the rushes and was like, it looks too similar to the Elder Wand. And so basically, they had to CGI a lot of Jude. I don't know, I hope I'm allowed to say that. I don't know how to say that.
Well, I think it's a nice shout out to the CGI team that they had to do that. How dare you? No, I was just thinking about Joe hearing my curses at the end of the takes. Like I didn't think about the fact that she would be watching the scenes, and we get to the end of a take, and if I was overdoing it or just thought I did a bad job, I'd be like, fuckity, Scooby-Doo.
Actually, what you would say, Catherine would finish the tape like being Tina and flipping amazing. She'd go, fuck my life. Fuck my life. And J.K. Rowling came in, she's like, my favorite thing to do is...
You and your mouth.
No, she didn't. She said her favorite thing to do is to watch the rushes of Catherine's scene, but like to get to the end bit.